a team that has now finished 500 or better in every full season of conference play since 2013. We exclude that spring season of 2021, a little bit different for everybody running through that campaign than it was in a regular season. It's been the level of consistency in Champaign, one of the most impressive things about the Chris Tamas era with Illinois, and the aforementioned head coach is with us now. Chris, welcome in. What was the most enjoyable part of last year and getting back to the NCAA tournament, which I know is always a goal at the beginning of the year for every head coach?
Yeah, the conference is a beast, and to be as consistent as we have been has really been something, especially with kind of changing over into transfer era, NIL, now rev share. I just think it's just one of those things that I attribute a lot to the support around us as well. It's not just me; it's everyone. That's one of our pillars, and we make sure we lean on that heavily. And so to be able to get back to the tournament, even the couple years that we missed out just a little bit, just kind of unlucky with some injuries, but still right there in conference play, as you mentioned, above 500 every single year in my tenure. And, as I tell the team all the time, if it were easy, everyone would just do it, but it's not. And so I'm really proud of every team that I've coached at Illinois, and happy to coach this one this year. New adventure as always, and they've been working hard, so I really enjoy having them.
Difficult every year. You could certainly argue got even harder last year with the addition of the 4 West Coast schools. We all had the expectations of what the conference would look like, being an 18-member conference, and with schools like USC and UCLA, Oregon, and Washington that had so much success. How did the reality match up with what you expected?
Yeah, I think a lot of people's like you're talking about is those are 4 perennial tournament teams that are coming into the conference, and so we got asked about the travel a lot with everyone, and it wasn't necessarily the travel, it was the fact that you're now only playing everyone mainly one time, and so you have to be really on your scout. You got to make sure your team's on your scout, and not that it was different beforehand, but there's no relevance of playing them, oh, we played them back in October, so this is what we learned. It's you better be on your game right away. The travel schedule does get a little bit hectic, but we're happy to move around, to be on TV, or to where we need to go to play these competitive matches in these great environments that we all have.
I thought one of the coolest parts of your season, when you really dive into the numbers, were that 11 of your 18 wins came in matches that lasted 4 or more sets, and you had 6 5-setters. You were 5-1 in 5-setters. That's a phenomenal number. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, I go back to the fact of, again, you have your scout that you have with your team, and you have to be really good at making those adjustments in game. And so you have your initial, you have what you think is going to happen in the match, and then by the first set, you kind of have to figure that out. And a little bit is my playing history. I played pro overseas when there was no scouting. And if you never played overseas volleyball back in the day, if you did not win, you did not get paid money. And so you better figure out within one set.
It's an important part of the playing
yes,
process.
Yes, if you better figure out one set how to beat the team on the other side of the net. And I feel like some of my experience goes with that as well. But I have a tremendous staff, tremendous, obviously, grouping of players as well that really, whenever we challenge them to something, they rise to that level. And it's been a joy being here for the last now 9 seasons. It's coming up in season 9 for me.
Well, and some of those accomplishments without a player who's here today, in Kayla Burbage. You mentioned the injuries. She missed almost all of the season. How much does she impact this team when she's back, when she's healthy, playing the way that she's able to play?
Yeah, so Kayla, she's great. I mean, just an awesome personality, a leader, and there was a little bit of iffiness if she was going to come back because she had the shoulder surgery and injury last year, knocked her out until mid-October, and by the time she got healthy, it didn't make sense to try to bring her back in, especially when you have the medical red shirt. And we actually weren't quite sure, what her status was going to be when she came back with that shoulder. And so when she came back in, all she could do was block. She couldn't attack, and we needed her to go block in the middle. That was her original recruited position. And so she went back in the middle and just to help us out with some practice stuff. And all of a sudden, she's just absolutely dominating everyone in practice. And we're like, hey, Kayla, what do you think about switching back to the middle? And
it's like a bionic shoulder type deal.
Pretty much. And, the middle doesn't put quite as much load on that shoulder. And she's a really good blocker and really high IQ player. So I think the position change is going to suit her really well. And looking forward to having her back on the team and her leadership as well.
I know Averie Hernandez also here today. What's her role on this team, and how is she so effective in what she does?
Yeah, also a leader. I think Averie's great at we talk to our players a lot about knowing your game and not getting too outside of that that bubble and getting upset if something doesn't go your way. Averie's really good about figuring out ways to score, ways to play the game. She's really crafty off the hands. She's able to use all of the court. And so if you try to set up to stop, Averie's best shot, she doesn't have a best shot because all of them are. And so she's really able to adapt and change as the game goes on. Another high IQ player and a great leader on her team as well.
What other returning players do you anticipate, or maybe do you need to take a step in their own games in 2025?
Yeah, so Ashton Philpott is returning all Big Ten freshman team, great freshman campaign. I think sometimes it can be difficult to transition from a great freshman year back to sophomore year, maybe higher expectations or the teams on the other side of that figure that out a little bit more. But with her, she's just a player that just gets after it every single rep, every single day. We talk about the importance of doing that. It's easier said than done. But she really does do that. She had a great spring, really try to just, with all of her players, what's the next level? Hey, great that you can do this, but now how do we get you to get that next step? Because at some point, someone's going to take your best stuff away, or you need to read better with blocking in her case. But it's just really how do you continue to move your players forward and to keep evolving their game as time goes on. So she's one to look at. We're going to be somewhat new. We have 6 freshmen, we have 3 transfers, and that excites me as well. They're good players, they're good people, whether they're juniors career or where they transfer from. And so I'm really excited to put this team together and see them here next week in practice.
Tell us about the transfers, why the portal additions you got fit what you wanted and what your philosophy was going into the portal.
Yeah, whenever you lose positions, obviously you're going to look to fill them. Like KB moving from opposite back to being a middle. We needed an opposite. Another one of our players left, and so Auburn Tompkinson, and again a player that we recruited back in the original cycle, has been great. She had an awesome spring. 6'5" lefty. Elite tipper, I would say. She has a really good tip, but awesome personality. Kenneth Phelan, setter from Florida State. It's just a spark plug, real court leader, very creative on the court, really good personality on the court. I think your setters really have to kind of be your emotional, almost an extension of the coach. And so she was a huge addition for us as well. So all of our players coming in, it's just a great a group of players. We're always about team culture. I think that's part of the reason why we've had the success that we've had as well. And we're really adamant about implementing that culture. So the 2 that are here today, Averie and Kayla, they do a great job of implementing that, along with several others on the team. And it's a reason why we've been where we've been for the last 8 years, and hopefully here into year 9 as well.
And you have to show that to the freshmen and what it all means. And you have a half dozen freshmen on this roster. How do you envision working them into the fold? How quickly do you anticipate any of them being impact players for you?
Yeah, it's always a question mark. I mean, sometimes that kind of where they fit, but from what the team tells me, it's been a competitive summer, and I don't say you just get the spot. It's a competition every single day. Competition breeds greatness, so we're going to compete every single day for a spot, and just making sure they know they have the right to compete. And so we got a few positions that are kind of up for grabs, and everyone's going to have a shot to go after it. But from everything that I hear, it's been going great, and looking forward to stepping in the gym with them. You get a little bit of that coach's pressure once we step into that gym, but I think they're going to handle it well, and I'm looking forward to having a few weeks with them before we get going here at the end of August.
And when I look at your non-con, I see Iowa State. I was one of your 5 setters last year. Also Louisville went to the national championship match. What's your philosophy in non-con scheduling, knowing what awaits in Big Ten play? Yeah,
it's always an interesting mix because you have to schedule based on what's available to you in some way, shape, and form, and everyone has an idea how they want to do it. You're at the end of the day, you've got to be competitive enough. You have to challenge your team enough. In non-con, and you got to prep them for conference, in my opinion. If you go easy in a non-con schedule and you just show up to conference and think, okay, well, we just played this schedule, I understand the value of having wins and being able to work on some in-game pressure items, but I always like competitive matches. So if you look at the slate of our matches, you're always trying to get teams that you think might win their conference that year, teams that do really well in other conferences. So we have several matches, like you mentioned, on national TV. We have several matches against teams that previously made the tournament. or do very well in their conferences. And so that was the philosophy, or it's been the philosophy for the last several years, and it's worked out really well. So we're sticking with it. I like our slate a lot, and it's going to put us to the test before we get to Big Ten play.
All right, Chris, before we hear from your players, I do want to get your thoughts on John Cook's retirement, a guy that you obviously know well beyond just coaching against, but coaching with. What do you think John's legacy ultimately will be?
We wouldn't be here today without John. I mean, I firmly believe that. Got to work with him for a couple of years, and he just always had the vision and the drive to push the sport to the next level. You know, everyone's going to talk about this and point to the stadium match that can probably only happen in one place in this country. And so the fact that it was able to be done, and to have the turnout that they do with their fans every single match, I mean, it's an impressive thing. But a lot of that's John's drive and him wanting the sport to be better, you know, for everyone really. And so that's his legacy, is the sport where it's at today. And, you know, you get a lot of, go through his coaching tree, look at that as well. You have all of his coaches that have come off, and obviously now Danny at Nebraska too. It just goes without saying. I mean, go down that coaches list and see where we've all been. We've all been with him. We all do pretty well where we're at right now. And so I think, you know, those couple things combined, I mean, what he's done for the sport, we can't say enough.
Chris, appreciate your thoughts. Best of luck this season. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Always good to see you.
You too.
As we send things back over to Elena and Holly.
Thanks so much, Rick. I'm super excited. We're now joined by Averie Hernandez and Kayla Burbage. Welcome to the Big Ten Network studios. I'm not going to say welcome to Chicago, because I know you guys were just here yesterday coaching at a clinic. How was that?
Very exciting. It was really fun to, you know, collaborate with the people who are running it and meet the campers and hang out with them. I think it's so fun to see the game of volleyball growing and continuing to reach out to, you know, men's and women's athletes. And I think it was a great experience last night.
Yeah, ditto. I think the out-of-system group is awesome. Like, those guys put in so much work to, you know, continue to grow the game of volleyball, and you can see it on full display. I mean, they had a adults clinic before they had like the offensive and defensive clinic, and even they talked about the show out of adults that just want to learn the game. So I think it's awesome to be a part of that in the community. Got to hang out with some other Big Ten athletes. Just all around a good experience.
How does coaching make you better players?
I think if you see it from a different perspective. I also know that like people learn differently. I might learn different than Kayla would when Chris talks to us. So I think you start to really think about how you're approaching telling someone how to learn something. And it's really helped me just better understand, you know, in terms of leadership with our group too, trying to tell our 6 new freshmen, you know, some things they need to learn or how to accommodate to our team culture and standard. And I think it just helps you kind of reevaluate in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're privileged enough at Illinois to host a lot of camps. We actually just finished our team camp yesterday as well. So it's just cool having the youth of Illinois and surrounding states come in and, you know, come in with their high school team and just try to learn from us. And we definitely don't have it all figured out, but I think even being around them, they're so passionate about volleyball and so passionate about winning that it makes you almost take a step back and, you know, reevaluate how you learn and what you want to do. And it's just great motivation.
For both of you entering your final seasons in college volleyball, how have you seen the growth from your freshman year to where you're at now? I'd love to hear that from both of you.
Yeah, I mean, we've come a long way. I feel like freshman Averie is a lot different than senior Averie, but in a good way. I think I've just had an immense amount of support from my family and, you know, both teams I've been on. I think they've been so supportive of my success and just helping me get there, and I'm just very grateful for everyone who's taken the time to push me to get there, and yeah.
Yeah, I think grateful is the word I keep going back to. You know, volleyball's not going to be forever, but I'm so happy that this is the group I get to finish out my career with. A lot of, like, I'm very thankful for Averie especially, just coming in and, you know, helping lead the culture to what we want to be. We have a lot of fresh faces that are coming in, and we're all really ready to work, and I just am very appreciative of the group that I'm surrounded with.
Last year, you had to overcome an injury, so you were off the court, but how did you learn to lead from off the court?
Yeah, I think obviously when you're not there in a physical standpoint, it's really easy to check out. I think mentally, I think one thing that I challenged myself when I, you know, did go through the adversity of having my surgery is there is other ways that I can be present for my team. Emotional support was a lot of that, you know, not being able to play is a toll on me, but I understand that, you know, other girls are going through the same struggles that I did when I was healthy. So finding ways to connect with them, I think, was huge. We have a really, really great sports staff in our community. We have a great sports psych. So being able to sit down with her and talk about ways that I can get involved with the team was huge for me. And, you know, figuring out ways to just connect everybody and kind of get everybody moving towards the culture we want.
Averie, since coming to Illinois Volleyball, you've been in a couple different roles and positions. What type of role are you looking to carve out for yourself heading into this season?
Yeah, I think I'm super, super grateful, like I said before, the support system I've had to push me to be to the place I am with Illinois Volleyball. I think with the people we've had in spring to the people we've had come in and work this summer, I think they've all, pushed me to be a better version of myself in terms of leadership. And so, yeah, this year I think I'm just going to try my best to be there for each of them and try to push them to be their better versions of themselves, because I think they've all played a role in making me grow as a person and player. And so, yeah, I'm very appreciative of them, and I think strive for greatness. That's all you can do, and, be there for the people who are supporting you as well.
Illinois is known for gritty defense. Is that something that starts in the gym at practice every day? Do you guys talk about it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we do some partner drills, we do some things with one-on-one stuff, but we also emphasize, no ball is unable to be gotten, like go for everything, and that's just kind of something we try and implement every day in practice, so our standard gets raised that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think for coming from like a blocking standpoint too, I think we're kind of ingrained too with a very, very good middle coach that, just because defense is digging balls doesn't mean that we're laid off for that too. We know that we're the first line of defense and we have to bust our butt to, stop some of these balls in the Big Ten. So I think just the culture of, yes, like no ball is unobtainable is really, really powerful in our gym.
What aspects of your games individually have you guys been working on this past spring and summer?
I think it's easy to be like everything, but it kind of is. I think also trying to get into that new role of, being a senior, being the person people might be looking up to more. I've learned from just this experience is like the other side of logistics is understanding what everyone else is learning and going through as you are as well. So I think obviously trying to come from the aspect of supporting everyone and, being the leader that they want me to be, but also understanding that I want to challenge myself in offense and defense. Being a 6 rotation player, you have a lot on your plate, but I think just trying to strive to be 1% better every day is my biggest goal.
Yeah. I think being back in the middle, just relearning that stuff. I said earlier, it's kind of like riding a bike. I didn't forget how to block, didn't forget how to swing, but I think just finding new ways to score. I matched up against some really talented middles every single day in the gym. So, learning how to play off of each other, I think is huge. Again, just back to the psychological piece, being really emotionally invested in what we are trying to do at Illinois.
You both have seen the schedule, the upcoming schedule. Anything that sticks out that you're looking forward to? Any matches?
I'm just really looking forward to going to California. USC and UCLA being added has been really interesting so far, and obviously a home match is a great match anyway. Being in Huff Hall is awesome, but I think traveling comes with being in the Big Ten, and traveling far now comes with being in the Big Ten, and I am just really excited to go to those two campuses.
Yeah, I think same for me, just excited to be back in Huff in a jersey this year, so I'm super, super grateful for that. And then another one that sticks out is Nashville. Excited to go play Vanderbilt, one of the first weekends of NCAA volleyball, so we're pumped.
What can fans expect to see from Illinois Volleyball this year when they come to the gym and watch your matches or they watch you on TV? What are some things you want fans to watch you play and think about?
Yeah, I think a common theme so far from the spring and the summer that I can attest to is fiery, very hype, loud in the gym. I think we've tried to kind of shift our identity to being a team that just is frustrating to play against, and I think that that's kind of a chip on your shoulder in the Big Ten especially. And I feel like so far we have a pretty upbeat, hype group, and I think that that's going to definitely go over to actual physical playing as well.
Yeah, I think the word that keeps coming to mind is swag. I think we just kind of hope to embody that this year, celebration, having that confidence to kind of go after it every day. The Big Ten's a hard conference to play in. I just hope that we can, show some of the swag that we have.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about that a lot, just being a senior, it's your last time being out there. I think the biggest thing for me is understanding that you can get 1% better every day, but you don't have to only think about your own accolades. You can always be there as a better teammate for your other teammates as well. And that's kind of been a big theme. I feel like us as Connection Crew have been trying to portray to our team is always push each other to be better, but understand that it's a team sport, it's the ultimate team sport, and everyone has to be at their best to win.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to just the culture of Illinois volleyball, I want it to be gritty. I want people to, kind of be nervous when they see Huff Hall on their schedule, and I know that that's kind of been the the synopsis before, but I just hope that continues. And we've had great people that have come before us, and we just hope to push on that legacy to everybody else. We have a super young group, so I hope that us kind of seniors can kind of pass that torch to the younger girls and they can continue it on.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us, and good luck this season.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.